Hello, my name is Caleb Rothy, and I'm the Percussion Education Coordinator for WGI. In this video today, what I'd like to do is talk a little bit about contest dynamics. And contest dynamics are the factors and the considerations that go into determining your rank and your rate at any event that you may participate in. This will be part one of what I think will probably be an ongoing series where we talk about contest dynamics. And in this first part, what I'd like to do is focus on what is kind of the hallmark of the WGI season, the capstone events for us, which are our regional championships. I often get a lot of questions that people will ask me quite a bit about the regional events, which are typically a prelims finals event, and they'll say, hey, my score increased so much between prelims and finals, or my score decreased between prelims or finals, or my ranking changed. And man, that was only between the morning and the evening, or maybe it was, prelims on Saturday and finals on Sunday. How could there be such a drastic change in such a short period of time? So what I'd like to do today is discuss with you some of the factors that contribute to that, some of the things that play into the regional championship, and some of the contest dynamics that are factors in those scenarios. So the first thing I'd like to do is I'd like to talk about the main, most important contributing factor to those contest dynamics, and that's the performance quality. Anybody that has stood in front of high school and independent performers before knows how volatile those performers can be sometimes, both in great ways and also sometimes frustrating and disappointing ways. Obviously, when you're standing in front of 15, 16, 17-year-old kids and you're asking them for consistency, you're asking them to repeat something with a level of precision and accuracy, but also emotional engagement and passion behind that performance, that's a tall order. And we frequently don't get incredibly consistent results in all of those. So that's going to play a huge role in determining your success in any given performance. The first of which way that kind of manifests itself is in the communication of your performance. This is definitely going to be a consideration that speaks towards the effect side of things more than anything else, but the performers have a tendency to vary quite a bit in their communication of the program just based on any particular moment, any particular time that we begin the beginning of the performance and that it plays itself out. So some of the things that you might see here is, let's say maybe an early morning performance where you're performing in prelims. If the students are a little tired, a little bit lethargic early in the morning, maybe it's earlier than they're used to having to be, with the spotlight on them, that could play into their communication quite a bit. The flip side of that is maybe they've traveled and are super amped up this morning, ready to go, excited about their day, and they go down and throw down an amazing prelims performance where the communication is just through the roof. That can vary quite a bit. That will then manifest itself perhaps differently in a finals event. Let's say you're competing on one day, prelims is in the morning, finals is in the evening, and now all the performers are, we're taking the floor for finals. It's been a long day, they're tired, they're a little worn out, and all of a sudden tonight's performance isn't nearly as strong as the morning's rendition was. That's going to play a factor quite a bit. The flip side is maybe they're a little tired in the morning. Now they're warmed up. Now they're ready to go. They've had a chance to get a couple of reps underneath their belt. They've cooled down and relaxed a little bit after prelims, and now for their finals performance, they're fired up. They're on fire and passionate tonight, and it's an outstanding performance. The level of communication, the degree to which that connects with the audience can vary quite a bit just from morning to evening. The same could be said from a Saturday to a Sunday performance. Those tend to be long weekends when it's a 2-day regional, and maybe you're out on the road staying in a hotel room or sleeping in a gym floor or something like that between prelims and finals. That great night's sleep or the poor night's sleep that they've had between those two events can really affect things quite a bit. So there are lots of factors that just go into the dynamics of the performers themselves that can affect that in rather remarkable ways. Obviously, their accuracy in those performances is a huge contributing factor as well. And we know that can be off. It can be off from rep to rep in rehearsal. It can be off in run to run in the rehearsal. And certainly that can play out at a competition as well. So this is going to affect primarily the music and the visual captions, both of those, as we talk about the accuracy of the musical performance, the accuracy of the visual performance. They may nail something in prelims, and it may not be nearly as strong in finals. It may be a little bit shaking, a little bit rough in prelims from a cohesiveness standpoint, and then in finals it is just absolutely nailed down with a great degree of precision. Those things will play huge roles in modulating the score either up or down between those two events. even though the venue is the same and the adjudicators are the same and it's on the same day or within 24-hour span, and we haven't had a bunch of extra rehearsal time, that could affect the number quite a bit. The second thing that I think plays into contest dynamics at a regional event is the depth of the program. Oftentimes you will see a Team A and Team B will perform in prelims, and Team A on a second read, there's not a lot of depth to the show. You kind of look at it and go, well, it's all kind of surface level stuff. We were able to understand this program perfectly the first time through, and on a second read, I didn't notice anything additional. I didn't notice anything that gave the program a new sense of dimensionality to it. What I saw were the same things that I saw in the prelims performance, but now the mystery and the mystique of some of that has been diminished. The joke or the punchline, as it were, in prelims isn't quite as strong the second time through in finals. So you could see a show that is maybe a little bit less developed than others, not resonating with an audience, not resonating with an adjudicator quite so much on a second read. Likewise, you may see a performance that's it's good, it's strong, it's solid in prelims, and then the second time through, when the audience sees it again, they realize there's a completely different angle to it. There's more depth to that performance. There's more depth to the compositional qualities, musically or visually. There's more depth to the creativity that they see on a second read that makes that show resonate that much more with the audience. And so that could play a huge factor into Team A beats Team B in prelims. And then we come back in finals, same panel, same day, same venue, same performers. We haven't made any changes in the show. It's just another rep of the same thing. But now that depth of program plays in quite a bit in finals, where you may see those results flipped. Now Team B is over Team A, and we haven't had any additional time to hone the shows or make any changes. Just the depth was the primary factor that played into those two things. The last thing that I think we have to make sure that we talk about is that performance order, whether we like it to or not, performance order will affect the way that your performance is received by the audience. Oftentimes what will happen is maybe you'll perform in prelims and there are a couple of other groups that are in your neighborhood. Let's say you're fifth. The couple of groups ahead of you, the couple of groups behind you may be in your neighborhood, but they may not have performed anywhere near your performance time in prelims just because of the way it all laid out. The adjudicator did their best in prelims to get all the neighborhoods together, to get everybody kind of in the right ballpark. And now in finals, now that we're a little bit closer to maybe the rest of our competitors in that particular competitive neighborhood, now there's a chance for a one-on-one assessment, a much closer comparison of those things. That could influence whether you shade up a little bit, shade down a little bit. That could be both a ranking thing and also a rating thing, just once you're in closer proximity to the groups that are very, very similar to the skills and the abilities that your ensemble happens to display. I think the other thing that factors into this quite a bit is just the sequencing of how shows are received. As much as we would like this to be eliminated, as much as we would like adjudicators to be completely robotic and be able to analyze and assess each program in a vacuum without being influenced by anything else, we know that that's just not human nature. I think the audience is the best example of this. The audience will watch the first performance, whoever it is, and then immediately start making comparisons when the second group, the third group, the fourth group take the floor to that first group. They'll start to compare and contrast strengths, weaknesses, things that they liked, things that didn't work quite so well. And so that plays into all of this quite a bit. I think adjudicators are a special breed of people that is able to strip away most of that influence, but it's never 100%. It's impossible. As humans, we're wired to immediately start that comparison process. So if the audience was left on a really high note, an emotional high at the end of a performance that preceded yours, that's going to influence their state of mind. It's going to influence just where they are emotionally at the beginning of your performance. And so that's just one of the things that we have to take into consideration when we start to look at how the events play out. Why is it important to think about these and understand these? Well, my hope is, after viewing this video clip, that you'll carve out a little bit of time in an upcoming rehearsal to sit down with your students and talk about some of these things. I'm a big believer in the more that we understand the way the process works, the more that we understand the influences and the considerations that go into these, the better we can navigate those as we go through events. So if you sit down and you talk to your students about how their accuracy and their communication can vary from performance to performance to performance, it heightens their awareness about those things. It makes them a little bit more aware about whether they're running hot or running cold, and allows them to temper those things a little bit more. If what you're going for is a consistent performance, the more they understand what plays into that consistency, the better chance they have to battle and fight to bring forth a wholly fantastic yet consistent performance time and time again. I think as educators, if we're aware of these things, we can really take a look at the depth of programming on our own side. If we happen to be responsible for the design of our program, we can self-assess and look at it and go, does this program, does this vehicle have legs where people are going to love it on a first read, and then on a second read, they're going to love it even more? That's great programming. That's a hallmark of all three of our classes. When somebody is able to give you a performance, leave you wanting to see more of that, and then on a second read they feel like they liked it even more, that doesn't happen by accident. That is great, fantastic programming. And if we self-assess our ability to do this, and we're really honest with ourselves about how much depth do we have to this program, is this something that has legs a second time, a third time, a fourth time? Are there new things for people to uncover, new elements of creativity, new elements of imagination that exist in this program time and time again? Then it's a fantastic program. And the last one, performance order, we have no control over that whatsoever, but an awareness of that certainly helps when you go to get your numbers, your ranking and your rating, and you look at that and go, what probably played into this? All of these considerations played into it, as well as what you've done during rehearsal over the last couple of weeks. The variances on the day of the event factor into the performance quite a bit, and are hugely profound in the way that they influence those. All right, I hope that this video chat has given you a little bit of insight into maybe some of the variances and some of the contest dynamics that may manifest themselves on the day of an event where you might be competing twice, or one day and then a performance the very next day, where we don't have space between those performances to rehearse and make changes to the show and fix things during that rehearsal time. In the upcoming videos, we'll talk a little bit more long range about some of the variances that may affect you week to week, month to month, and from the beginning of the season to the end of the season. Thank you very much for tuning in today, and I'll see you again down the road.